No Fun, the Jen Kirkman podcast, season 11, episode 11. Hello, everybody. I know last week was a sort of impromptu week off for the podcast, but for those of you listening to the free version on your favorite podcast app, I hope you enjoyed what I call the unlocked episode that you received last week. So what you received last week, if you didn't know, is you got a full episode that came out in January of 2023 that had previously only been available in full to Patreon subscribers. So you got a little taste of what goes on around here once I sign off on the free version and head over to finish the episode on Patreon. I hope you enjoyed. And for my Patreon subscribers, I'm sorry there was no new episode. We are resuming right now. As always, there are 52 weeks in the year, but there are 48 episodes of No Fun per year. And so months that have 5 Thursdays in them, there will only be 4 episodes. So anyway, I'm going to give you my lukewarm thoughts on the Oscars, which by the time you hear this was 2 weeks ago? That's what you come to this podcast for. My mildly warm takes on leftovers. That's why everyone tunes in, to get not at all timely gossip. Not even gossip, just my thoughts on a thing that you are probably done thinking about. But I will say this, I did not watch the Oscars. I never watch the Oscars. I'm not trying to be cool. I'm just truly not interested. Now, I could watch Oscar award shows or Academy Awards shows from other decades. You know, I'd love to see a sort of coked up Liza Minnelli get up there and just thank you for winning Cabaret. But I don't want to watch awards shows now because you know why? I know that the most interesting parts of them will be available to me to watch online the next day. When everybody tells me what happens, I'll go, wow, somebody got slapped. I will watch that right now on the internet in my own time without my pants on. I don't know why you'd have to put pants on to watch the Oscars. You can also do that in your underwear, but I guess I'm just picturing, you'd go to an Oscars party that your friend throws, that kind of thing. Whatever. My point is, I didn't watch them. I did fill out an Oscar ballot at work where, you guess who's going to win what categories. And I really thought I was going to win the Office pool, even though I hadn't seen any of the movies and didn't really know much about what people were saying about them. But I just felt like I'm a psychic. So I'm not a psychic, by the way, and I don't believe that I am. But in that moment, I felt I'm just going to go with my psychic vibes. And guess what? They suck. So I didn't even come in third. I didn't tie. But I did want to give my thoughts on Chris Rock finally addressing the slap from Will Smith in his comedy special. And here are my thoughts. Look, I'll give Chris Rock a lot of credit for being one of the only middle-aged comedian guys who was not overly doing the, you can't say anything anymore, cancel culture is going crazy, what's up with trans people? I think he made some kind of hacky and what's the point trans jokes, but he did make clear that he doesn't feel he's transphobic or that it's, he's very different than Chappelle, for example, or Ricky Gervais. But anyway, so he does his special and it's live. And this is how dumb I am. I wasn't watching it live, but it did say in the corner live. Like I put it on at 10:30. It started at 10. Either way, I kept thinking, yeah, live. This is when it premieres. I wasn't thinking, no, literally, Jen, live, happening now. That's an interesting concept. There's something cool about it. I always think that you just don't get what it's really like to be at a show when you're watching a comedian do a special on Netflix. But at the same time, it was a Netflix special taping that just happened to be live. It's still not quite the same as being at a little club and watching a comedy show where somebody's really riffing. I mean, he's just doing his planned stuff live. Okay. But I did feel bad for him as a comedian that the joke that he flubbed was in the part about Will Smith. I did honestly want more talk of the slap, but again, that's not what he planned to do, if that makes sense. He would have had another special coming out anyway, even without this slap situation. And so that's not what he wanted to talk about. I think he felt he had to, and I think it was smart to wait, get everyone to watch the special. That's when he'll weigh in. But it still comes off to me like he has a bizarre fixation with Jada. He's doing the special in Baltimore and has to mention that's her hometown. That seems psychotic to me. I swear to God, if I was her, I'd get a restraining order. Anyway, it was fine. God bless everybody. It's a low, low bar. In fact, it's not even a bar. It's a piece of string on the ground. Very easy to get over. I will give a middle-aged male comedian props for not being too out of touch sounding. And he had some of that, but it was still from that Chris Rock point of view, which he has honed over the years. And as a comedian, I say it, he's still in his point of view. I don't really notice that he's changed all that much the way I see from what I think is a radical change in Dave Chappelle. But Chris Rock still obviously has issues with women. You know, there's so many male comedians that talk about how women are going to spend your money. It's like you can date women with jobs, and then you don't have any material. So anyway, that's my message to everyone. You can date women with jobs. And then you don't have to go on and on about how they want your money for this or that. But something tells me that it works for you to have women need your money. That's where you're getting your self-worth. So really, write some jokes about that. Well, that's my hot take. My other hot take is that the documentary on Netflix called Inside the Mind of a Cat, that's what should win the Oscar. I loved this movie. And was it the best made documentary? No, nothing about it should win an award technically, but I just thought, maybe we're at the beginning of the age of cats and people who love cats getting some respect. Because it is just such a cultural thing that you can just say you hate cats and everybody agrees and everybody laughs and everybody makes fun of cat ladies. Enough. This documentary showed that cats actually are very into people, if that makes sense. They're just as affectionate as dogs. They want to play with you just as much as dogs do. They want to love and snuggle you. For me, their breath is less bad. They are less sloppy and they are less intense. You don't have to get up and walk a cat outside at 5 a.m. This notion that they're so independent that they're going to ignore you. No, they just have their times of day that they want to do their own thing. And by the way, that's normal. That's normal to me. I don't want the kind of pet that has no life of their own, that all they do is want to follow me around. But I've seen dogs, not to brag, but I've seen dogs. And dogs are the same as cats. They have their own thing they do. They're not paying attention to you when you're walking them and they see another dog. They're going nuts. A cat will actually pay more attention to you. A cat doesn't want to associate with other cats. They're upset about it. They want just your attention. I really don't understand how this got so screwed up. This mythology that cats are rude and they don't want anything to do with you. I mean, I think it's that cats are so cute that you want to snuggle with them every 5 minutes and they need a little bit of time to themselves. To the point where I had a therapist who told me that we need to break down and talk about why I love cats so much and don't like dogs, because that means I have intimacy issues and I'm this and that and I don't love myself enough. I can't be loved because I don't want something that gives me affection. What on earth are you talking about, lady? Ask any of my exes. I love affection and very much am offended when not every single person on earth is in love with me. How dare you? How dare you not be in love with me and want to give me affection all day long? All of you, no matter your age, your gender, your preference, I'm offended. I don't know where she was getting this. It's a fun little theory that she toyed with that she would not give up on, and I should have left her. I know. I don't know why I stayed with the therapist for so long. I got a new therapist. I told him some of the stories. his face was dropping when I talked about the lack of boundaries my prior therapist had. But anyway, she kept saying, you should experiment with getting a dog. You need to learn how to accept the love of something jumping on you when you come home. I don't need to do that because I don't want that to be a dog. And I don't want a pet because I'm on tour. Like, I don't need to do this. Anyway, we're going to get into all that. Actually, we're not. That was all I had to say about that. But I'm going over now to the Patreon to continue the podcast. And you can read in the show notes of whatever you're listening to this on about what I'm going to be talking about this week. But those are my thoughts. Didn't watch the Oscars. When are cats going to be respected in society? Thank God for this documentary. And Chris Rock's comedy special was perfectly fine, but he's got some issues with women. And that's my mildly warm hot take 2 weeks later. Okay, until next week, have fun.